Hi everyone, this is our very first episode of the video series with Betty Blocks. We are at the Betty Blocks headquarters to record our first episode of the video series on low code in the legal space. We're super excited, and you guys probably already know us a little bit. We are Marco and Hadassah, hosts of the LegalTech podcast. We're joined with Odin and Chris from Betty Blocks today.
Hello.
We can do like a quick round of intros, I think, from our side.
Let's do it.
Things are pretty clear, but I'd love to give Marco the mic just to give a quick hi.
Well, I think you know enough about us, Hadassah and I, so I think this is definitely the time for our guests today. Well, technically, they are the host today because this is Betty Blocks headquarters, but let's start with Odin. Mr. Odin, you want to just give a quick intro about yourself, what you do at Betty Blocks, apart from having fun, obviously, which is the main part.
Thank you, Marco. What I mainly do is education. I try to build videos, learning paths, everything regarding how to learn and to use the Betty Blocks platform. I am the product owner of the education team, working together with two amazing guys, making sure that the docs are set up, the videos are set up, and people have a point A and a point B that they can work to. I learn how to use and navigate their way around the platform. So that's sort of what I do.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. What about you, Chris?
My role at Betty Blocks is head of community, so I'm very much focused on building success with our existing clients, people that are looking to use Betty Blocks, and finding out how they can basically become successful with the platform, and helping to guide them in the right direction to become successful with low code.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. I want to quote a couple of points from Odin and Chris, if you allow me, Hadassah. Odin just mentioned education, which is something that is extremely important for us at LegalTech, and this is why this partnership is so important for us, because it's extremely important. Don't get too excited, Odin.
Then we have Chris.
And second from Chris is like supporting people. So again, this goes back to the LegalTech values, which is support, empower, and connect. We're going to explain more about this in the next few episodes. But hey, it's a pleasure to be here. We're back to you, Hadassah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say exactly the same. It's fascinating to have this combination of, on the one hand, content, and on the other hand, outreach. And really putting the content and the actual tools into practice. Also communicating with the outside world, the eventual customer. So I think it's very interesting to kind of get both perspectives from both of you. Yeah. We are here to discuss about low code, a topic that's quite some hype, I believe. At least scrolling on LinkedIn, I see a lot about low code. It may be because I'm following Betty Blocks.
We're good at low code. I'd say, yeah.
Just a little bit. No, we're definitely here to talk about low code, and maybe to kind of like start this conversation or to get it going. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about how this whole discussion is situated? What is this debate about low code, no code? Where did it come from? What are we seeing?
Well, the main thing is people have always been running into problems and they want to fix that with solutions. Yeah. Then we got this wonderful digital market coming up with programming. And that's where the whole hassle started, because programming, writing lines of code, I have a software application software development background, and it's not a bad thing to do, but it's like very, very difficult puzzling. And the moment you have to get in there from the get-go, it's difficult. So how do you make that easier? How do you make it more accessible? You turn it into no-code, low-code. You provide a tool that allows you to solve some of those solutions without actually having to write those lines of code. Mm-hmm. And you got no code, which is basically a tool or whatever it's meant for, of course, because no code can exist in multiple kind of forms. Same for low code. A tool that allows you to build whatever you want, but it stays within the tool. No code, you don't have any options to customize it. And low code. And low code is where you also are provided with some customization options, meaning that you can add some code to the no-code tool to expand your world and use the best of both worlds. Programming and, in this case, the business developers that want to use their ideas and put it into solutions.
Yeah, it's the typical software development process is very rigid, takes a long time. and you have to have very, very specialist knowledge on how to code and write these sort of solutions out. And no-code and low-code offer you an alternative way to do this, which is a lot more flexible, and it's a lot faster. So you're able to respond to the need, the problem, in a much more effective manner.
Or why would somebody want to use low-code, no-code, as opposed to getting in someone who can actually build a solution for them? I'm assuming money is one part of it. But
yeah, but I think it was in 2019 or 2020, there was a shortage of about 30,000 software developers in the UK alone.
Wow.
So with a shortage like that, demand pricing, software developers can start charging more and more for their services. An alternative is needed. One of the big visions that we've always had with Betty Blocks is to make it a software development accessible to anyone. So you don't have to have that sort of specialist knowledge. Yeah. You can still get involved in the process with very, very minimal technical knowledge. I mean, myself, I've built with Betty Blocks, and I definitely don't come from a tech background.
For lawyers, definitions are important. Let's say if on one hand it's important, on the other end is a limit of the legal background, in my very modest opinion. But if we try to squeeze and summarize in a nutshell everything that has been said so far between the two of you guys in the last 5-10 minutes, can you come up with your best definition of what low code is? And again, please don't be out of a book. From a real practical experience like you guys, that you live and breathe the low code experience with Betty Blocks.
To me, low code is a way of making digital innovation more accessible to the world. You allow people to build their ideas, their solutions, which are normally like way out of reach due to difficulty standards. That's low code to me.
Thank you, Odin. Yeah.
Chris? As I kind of alluded to, for me it's an alternative to the traditional software development process. And as Odin says, when you've got these sort of innovation teams, they can't be fully reliant on IT or the professional developers. So it gives them some sort of autonomy to start actually doing the work themselves. And it's very flexible. I think that's one of the key things is you can really kind of, depending on the tools you're using, you can kind of build whatever you want. And I think that's one of the beauties of low code as a whole.
What strikes me, and Marco briefly touched upon it just before, is that from the perspective of a legal professional, I'm totally speaking for myself here, when I hear code, I'm like, code. No matter if it says low or no, I'm immediately like, code, that means something technical, so now I have to watch out. Why is low code interesting for the legal industry? And why would anyone in the legal industry want to get a hands-on approach with code when it's actually seen, just like mathematics, for instance, as something a little bit scary, a little bit out there? What does it do for legal?
Yeah, maybe one of the other things to slightly frame it differently, instead of looking at it being sort of no code or low code, in the past we'd also referred to it as a rapid application development platform. So then you're moving away from the coding, but then still you're talking application development, which can still be scary. But I think for the legal sector as a whole, it's you've got innovation teams that have been set up there, but they really struggle to do any real effective innovation. They're too reliant on the IT teams, too reliant on getting buy-in internally from partners and law firms, and it makes it very difficult for them to actually achieve anything. Now, low code and no code, what it does is it gives them a way to rapidly respond to changes in the market. One of the things that we've seen recently is maybe there's a new regulation coming out that could affect the way that the business has to operate, and you need to know, hang on, are we compliant with this? Now it's very easy to create an article and send that and say, look, we know what we're talking about. But with low code, you can very, very quickly develop a sort of a questionnaire based application that would allow people to go through this application, get to the end, get a result saying, hey, you are all compliant, nothing to worry about. But it also can say, hey, actually, you need to you need to address this, perhaps you should reach out to us. So it's a tool that can allow innovation teams to really contribute to the firm's ultimate direction. Because right now what I see is that they where they're all very keen for innovation within the innovation teams, it's often not fully embraced by the whole organization. And it's giving them tools that they can actually now start to develop meaningful applications that are going to be able to enhance the client relationship, enhance client acquisition, and also if you look towards sort of fixed fee markets like real estate, you can develop solutions that can allow people to start self-serving themselves, and this is going to allow you to increase your margins. So there's a lot of stuff that is benefit to low code, and if you had to do this through the traditional way, by the time you've got an application ready, the next regulation's coming out. You know, so it allows you to be more effective in responding to clients' needs, market changes, etc.
Yeah, so really a hands-on approach for innovation teams within legal. Odin, we've taken a look at what low code and no code can bring for legal. Can you maybe delve deeper into some practical examples of what it can do, maybe also some practical examples of other departments that may be necessary to help out, things that low code can't necessarily solve and things that it can actually do. Okay. To get that nuance in there. Because you hear a lot about, technology can solve everything.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, and that's the whole thing with low code, and that's also what I sort of want to stick by. Of course, depending on the tool, low code can fix everything.
Yeah.
The moment you want to dive into the difference between code, because for now I'm just keeping low code and no code as like a bunch, but the difference between no code, low code, and regular programming, for example, is customization. How far do you want to dive into your specifics? And most often you see that with either data steps, so like, hey, we're collecting data for a questionnaire, we're collecting data from our customers, our clients, etc. And we want that in our application, we want that to act a different way or something. Well, you have more options within traditional programming. However, we are slowly, since we all sort of adapt and abide to like the same kind of programming rules, we can also fit that into this whole framework we call low coding and no coding. So that's the difference between traditional coding and the no coding and low coding differences. Between no coding and low coding, the differences, as I mentioned earlier, is also, low coding tools offer you the freedom to do some things such as creating custom front end fonts, bits, pieces. I'm not going into too much gibberish here, but you might, when you open an application, when you open a website, you want to see something fly by, etc. Not every tool supports that, and that's where a low-code tool can say, like, hey, you know what? We'll allow you to like change the bits and pieces of code a little bit so that it can work according to your wishes. And within no-code, everything is framed the way they want it to be. They have their vision on what they want the no-code to be. And that's also great because on one hand, it's a bit stupid because if you want to dive into your own things, no-code's going to block that. However, it is a wonderful way to get into the world of development because it gives you the guidelines. Like, this is what you have, that's what you can build. And, you want to customize, then you will have to look any further. But that's basically the 3 layers of coding. That you have.
I think it's very important to recognize is that each one does have its place, right? There's certain situations where you want to build out something that's fully customized, you're going to use some professional developers to develop it out for you, all good and well. And there's scenarios where you've got your no code, and no code inherently has got limitations to it because you can't extend any of the functionality. It's a set of tools that's what's in the toolbox. So there's that side. Then you've got the professional developer, and then what we've seen in the legal sector is with the no-code tools, people will build solutions and reach that limitation, and then they'll turn to the professional developers and go, "Hey, we need you to help us finish this solution." And there's a big disconnect there because a lot of the professional developers don't want to use that limited no-code tool. So there's also an area where you get the need for low code because it can enhance that collaboration between the no-code developers and the professional developers, giving them a platform where they can cohesively work on developing solutions together.
Yeah.
there's a point I would like to stress out here, because it goes without saying that step by step, if we try to define and understand what's around low code, we get technical. There's no way we can escape, right? Mm-hmm. But to try to zoom out, right? Trying to zoom out from where we have just discussed. I think something we have discussed with some of our guests already, and in the future soon. Digital transformations, especially for law firms or in-house, is a question of culture. There's actually also a nice, fantastic book from Isabel Parker about that. So my question to you before we move on a different topic is, you have a very practical experience, and you talk to many lawyers in all the events, live or online. My question, again, I want to hear from both of you, because it's interesting to know both the, let's say, educational side of things and more the community sales side of things of the same topic. What's the number one question that you get from lawyers, from law firm, of how to adopt, how can we adopt Betty blocks inside our law firm? How can we facilitate this digital transformation according to your low-code tool?
Well, to me, my first question to them would always be, do you have any problems?
Wow.
Because
wow.
they will always have problems.
Yeah.
Everyone, I'm not. It's gonna sound like I'm only framing law firms and lawyers, and then everyone in the legal industry. Everyone has issues. Everyone likes to complain about something. Something can go faster. Something can go quicker. And that's where you can also ask the question, what if you can work on this yourself? What if you don't have to continuously communicate with that, again, nothing against programmers, that tedious programming team that doesn't really want to communicate with you? And that's where you can see that, everyone, or a lot of people, like solving their own issues. Some people are like, I'm okay with you doing it, Marco, but I kind of like having the everything in my own hands when it comes to, I see this issue, I think I can solve it, now I just need the proper tooling. And I don't necessarily think it's about how you are going to adapt it, but how you're going to frame it, I think, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Definitely, and there's also an argument for making sure that you have the proper strategic goals and targets and roadmaps set up, because often what you see is people go. I've seen it so much in law firms. We've low code. We've seen this. We need to do something. Yeah. Okay, so what are you wanting to do? I don't know. And it's like, so you really need to understand what the problems are that you're going to solve, but also how are you going to make sure that it's in line with the direction of your organization or your firm? How is it going to make sure that strategically it's not going to get left by the wayside? And that's where we see a lot of times, again, it's going back to in law firms, where you need to get the people that are using the product, and you really need to get them involved in that process, because if you don't build something that they want, they're never going to use it. And you see innovation teams do all this all the time. They spot a potential problem, and they go, okay, cool, we're going to build a solution for this. And then they build out a solution, they go to the whatever practice group's going to use it, say, hey, here's a solution. A couple months later, why is no one using our solution? And it's because you never involved them in the process. So it's understanding the problem, but also having the people that are experiencing the problem involved in that process.
I want to thank both of you, and of course Marco, my great co-host, for this discussion. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to digging deeper into the topic.
Absolutely.
Cool. Such a pleasure. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah.